Hey everyone, welcome to another Reality Skewed Gamers tutorial video. I am Finity, and today we're going to go over Heroic AAT Phase 4 with the clones. Now, if you've seen the other clones video that we've made regarding Phase 2, some of this will be a little bit of overlap, but there is some different strategy involved in Phase 4 compared to Phase 2. And so as we kind of go through everything, you'll be able to notice the difference. So let's go ahead and begin a little bit in terms of the base squad, which is going to be a little bit of repeat. So for the Phase 4 clones, the key character is going to first be Cody. Now Cody is going to be a key character because of his special ability, the 212 attack, and his leader ability. Now his leader ability gives clones a 30% extra critical chance. Other allies gain half of that amount. And then in addition, they recover 5% of their max protection when they use their basic ability. So this increases the survival of the clones quite a bit. So you want to make sure that if you are doing clones, that you have his leader ability zetaed. The protection increase is part of his zeta ability, so you will want a zetaed Cody as your lead. The key to the attack, though, to kind of keep it going and increasing damage is the 212th attack. Now the 212th attack calls all clone allies to assist, plus one random ally to assist. Now you can kind of imagine, based on that ability, that this group is going to be 4 clones plus one other character. This is a similar setup to what you would do in Phase 2. That 5th character is more specific in Phase 4, which we'll go into, but you'll call all clone allies plus one random ally to assist. All of these characters will use their basic attack when they assist. And these assists, they deal 40% less damage, but this next statement is going to be the key. Each time an assist scores a critical hit, it reduces the cooldown of the 212th attack by 1, which means that you want all of your squad, in order to crit, to try and keep reducing this so Cody can keep on firing that 212th attack. So if you just count the numbers, you're going to have 1 from Cody, you'll have 4 from the others, so that's 5 attacks. How do you get it to 6 in order to make it so the Cody can use this ability on the next turn? That's when you come to the second character. The second key character is going to be Echo. Now Echo has his uniques, which end up being key for this. His first unique is whenever another ally uses a basic ability during their turn, Echo has a 30% chance to assist, dealing 40% less damage. This assist chance doubles when the attacking ally is a clone. Now with Cody's 212th attack, all the people that are attacking with that attack are using their basic attack, which means that they will use their basic attack, and then those allies have a chance of proccing Echo to attack. And each clone ally has a 60% chance, and that 5th character, which won't be a clone, will have a 30% chance. So that is one of the ways that you can get that extra 6th attack in order to reset the 212th attack by Cody and constantly have it going. His other unique is that clone allies recover 7% of their max health whenever they use a basic ability. This effect can't trigger more than 2 times before their next turn and is disabled if Echo is defeated. So if you combine this with Cody's lead ability, where you're gaining protection, clones have a lot of survival in this raid, especially in Phase 2 and Phase 4. So let's go ahead and look at all of the clones and how the 212th attack works. So you'll start off with Cody using his 212th attack. So Cody, when he uses it, will have his basic attack. His basic attack has a chance to will gain 20% turn meter. Also can gain 20% turn meter if the target is above 50% health, which is going to be critical during this phase. The effectiveness of the clone squad will be less if the tank, the AAT tank, is less than 50%. So this is going to be a greater than 50% attack. His other one will be 20% turn meter additional if the target is below 50% turn meter. So obviously you will want to try and attack whenever the AAT is below 50% turn meter. This is going to be something that's fluctuating throughout the turn. So it's something that you'll want to make sure that you're monitoring as you kind of go through it. And when Cody uses his basic attack, he'll recover 5% of his protection, recover 7% of his health due to Echo's unique, and then also because if he crits, he has a chance to reduce his 2/12 cooldown. And because it's a basic ability, there's a 60% chance that he will call Echo to assist. So that's going to be what Cody's contribution is. Next is going to be Echo. So Echo is being called with his basic attack, so he'll do his basic attack as an assist. He has a 20% turn meter gain to a random ally, right? So whenever the ally is less than 50% turn meter. Now when this attack is going on, Cody will have just used his 2/12 attack, so his turn meter will then be reduced. So likely you're going to give this turn meter to Cody, and Cody will be gaining turn meter at a much faster rate. Now it's possible that some of the other clones are also below 50% turn meter, but its likelihood is going to be more common with Cody than for others. Then again, you have the 5% protection gain, you have the 7% health gain, and a chance to reduce the cooldown of the 2/12 attack. Next, you have 5s. Now, going back again to how can we reduce this cooldown so that Cody can use it again in his next turn? We have Echo possibly being called as another way, but we also have 5s. Now, 5s does a basic attack when he's assisting on this attack, but he also does 2 attacks if the target is slowed. So getting a slow on whatever target you're hitting with the 2/12 attack is also very beneficial, not only to reducing its speed so your clone squad can go more often, but also so 5s has a chance to reduce his 2/12 cooldown twice when Cody uses his 2/12. So 5s, when he's attacking a slowed target, can also help reduce the cooldown. Similarly, he'll gain 5% protection due to Cody's lead, he'll gain 7% health due to Echo's unique, and then you also have Echo's ability, his unique ability, where he can be called to assist. The 4th clone is going to be your Clone Sergeant. Now, Clone Sergeant is kind of interesting. He's a character that a lot of people get early in the game, they may not focus on, but in this Clone Squad, he is very, very critical. So, his basic attack will assist, he has a chance to reduce the 2/12 cooldown, he also has a chance to gain 50% turn meter on a crit, and he has the 5% protection and the 7% health. So he's also gaining 50% turn meter whenever he can crit. So you can see how crit is going to be very useful for this clone squad. And he can call Echo to assist. So next is going to be, who are we going to put into that 5th spot? Now, if you saw the P2 video, you'll know that the P2 variations for that 5th spot are kind of various. Usually you're going to focus on a Jawa. However, there is a difference in Phase 4. Phase 4, your optimal 5th character is going to be Leia. Leia is going to be your optimal character because she gives your troops increased crit chance, and that buff really helps to increase the crit. She also has a triple basic, and she has a chance to attack, and that means she has a chance to attack 3 times with her basic attack. So that's 3 times that she can give the crit buff. It's also 3 potential times that she can also trigger Cody's 2/12 attack reduction, and 3 times that she can call Echo to assist. And because she's not a clone, she's not going to have the same survival as the clones that are constantly gaining health and protection. So the fact that if you Omega her special ability, then Leia can perma-stealth, basically meaning that you can stealth her before her stealth runs out, and she never leaves stealth in her attacks. So that can also be very, very good in terms of keeping her survival. If you do not have Leia, then OG Han, or the regular Han Solo that you get for the Rancor raid, could be beneficial in the same way because he can provide the crit chance buff. Now, the crit chance buff serves a few different purposes. One is to increase the crit chance of your squad, and we'll go through that here in a little bit. But the other thing is that Phase 4 has a little bit different of a topple mechanic. Now, topple is when you destroy all 3 of the cannons. That's the main cannon that's on top, and then the left and the right. When you destroy all 3 of them, the tank topples. And when it topples, you can get different buffs. So there's a Morale 1, a Morale 2, and a Morale 3. All of them are triggered by different things. You will get the Morale 2, which is the speed when you destroy all 3 of them in the same turn of the main tank, so the base tank. You can get morale 1 as kind of a standard one. It's going to be your armor reduction. And then morale 3, you get if you can survive the shot from the main cannon, which will come into play here in a little bit. But the difference between Phase 2 and Phase 4 is that when the tank comes out of topple in Phase 4, it will trigger an airstrike. So a plane will fly overhead, basically drop a bomb on your entire squad. If your squad does not have a buff on them, they will die. So looking at Leia, she has a chance to triple attack, put on that buff onto your clone squad, which means that your squad will likely continually have a buff on, so you do not have to take as much damage or instant death from that airstrike at the end of your topples in Phase 4. OG Han serves the same general purpose. When you can manually apply the crit chance buff, so it requires a little bit more of a timing aspect, but OG Han, not as much of a damage dealer, doesn't have the stealth, so he is definitely going to be your backup if you do not have Leia. Leia will be optimal in this squad. So what are the different RNG things you have to look at? So we discussed that the AAT will have to be above 50% health. This is due to Cody's basic and trying to get that extra turn meter and speed up your squad. Without that, it's not going to be as beneficial. The next thing is your ability block on Cody. Now what I mean by that is another difference between Phase 2 and Phase 4 is that Phase 4 not only has the AAT, but it also has 2 B2 droids. And those B2 droids can put ability block on your characters. You want to try and have it so Cody doesn't get hit by this ability block because you want that 2/12 attack to constantly be going. That is going to be your main damage dealer in this phase. So, ability block on Cody is something you want to monitor in your RNG. It may be something you'll be able to overcome one time. It may not be ideal. But if you're constantly getting Cody ability blocked, then you want to make sure that you restart your attack. Survival of the 5th character is definitely going to be something key. When we go through the strategy on how you attack, Leia, who is the 3rd fastest character unmodded in the game, and likely will be the fastest character on the squad, will be attacking first. You don't want her to use her stealth on her first turn. You want to use her basic so that she can get crit chance up on your squad so that they're critting and the 2/12 attack is rolling. But this leaves a turn where Leia is going to be unstealthed. So obviously if the cannons, for whatever reason, decide to focus fire on Leia, this may be an attack that you need to restart. In fact, it will be an attack that you need to restart because you obviously need to make sure your 5th character survives. Leia, once she's stealthed and you can keep her permanently stealthed, will definitely be a huge benefit. So then the survival of the 5th character is part of the RNG that you'll want to make sure you monitor. Echo's call to assist are something that are part of RNG, but it's not necessarily something you'll need to reset for. If Echo is called, that's great. If Echo isn't called, it's not as great, but it's not going to be killer. The key is going to be whether or not that 2/12 attack is reduced from its cooldown and you can attack again on Cody's next turn. So it's going to not just be the call to assist, it's going to be the reset of Cody's 2/12 attack. Main cannon damage survival. Now, as mentioned, if the main cannon or the one on top fires and your squad survives, when you topple the tank, you'll actually be provided an additional morale boost that increases your crit damage. It is really nice, however, in order to make sure that you can survive the damage, your squad will need to be fairly geared up. So it may be something you'll need to play around with. If your squad is still developing, if you do not have maxed out clones, you'll want to make sure that you don't always try for this main cannon damage increase. It is a good increase, don't get me wrong, but your squad needs to be able to survive the hit, otherwise you're wasting the attack. Okay, and you can still get good damage without triggering that, it's just you get better if you can. Okay, so the main cannon, how you will kind of decide whether or not you want to try and get that 3rd morale boost will be dependent upon the gear of your characters. All 3 cannons down in the same turn increases your speed. You definitely want to make sure you have a speed boost. So you want both of the other morale bonuses. You don't necessarily need the 3rd one with the crit damage. But you want to make sure then, in order to get the speed morale boost, that you have all 3 cannons destroyed in the same turn as the main AAT, which is going to be that turn meter at the bottom. So Making sure that they're all down in the same turn gives you speed. You add that in addition to landing slow on the main tank with 5s. You have now created a significant speed gap, which will help you get more attacks in during that same time period. The potential calls to assist of the 5th character. Now, what I mean by this, if you're using the 2/12th attack, that means that you are going to be attacking a lot more with the other characters. Some of the characters, like Clone Sergeant, also can gain turn meter on his basic with a crit, which means that if you use the 2/12th attack, and then Clone Sergeant goes, he will likely be the next one to go as well. You may end up using up the crit chance buff that Leia gives. Again, this is RNG on how Leia gets her crit chance up on the rest of your characters. But as you are speeding up your squad, you're getting more attacks in, not assist attacks, but more actual attacks based on having full turn meter, you're going to run down the effect of your crit chance buff because it's only existent for a couple of rounds. So it's possible, although not highly likely, mainly with Clone Sergeant you would have to be careful of this, is that if he keeps on attacking, he may wear off his crit chance buff, and if you're in the topple, as soon as the topple comes out, an airstrike will come on, and then Clone Sergeant is going to have no buff, and then will die. Okay, it's not a very likely scenario. Leia is usually pretty good about landing those crit chance up buffs. But just make sure that you're monitoring this because her ability to give those buffs is part of the RNG. So, how do you want to mod these characters? Now, this one is, I wanted to show you guys kind of the logic behind why we are going to talk about how to mod these characters. So what I have here is a table I created to show you the crit chance of all of the characters that you'll be using in this phase. So, all of your characters will get crit chance from Cody's lead ability. Your 4 clones, Cody, Echo, 5s, and Clone Sergeant, will gain 30% crit chance. Leia, who is not a clone, will gain half of that, so she will gain 15. The crit chance buff from Leia will give everyone 25% crit chance. So you can see that in that table as well. In terms of some of the other things to consider, Leia gets 3 basic attacks, which I wrote down there as kind of a side note because she has 3 chances potentially. She doesn't always attack 3 times, but if she attacks 3 times, she has 3 chances to try and reduce the cooldown of Cody. Clone Sergeant, however, does get 4.5% crit chance for every other living ally. So with 3 other ones, he'll gain 13.5, so that puts him at a total of 68.5 just with the lead ability of Cody, the buff from Leia, and his unique ability. And you can see the other clones are at 55% and Leia is at 40%. Now, the next ones are for the characters themselves. Now, these are stats for maxed out characters. Okay, so yours may vary if your characters are not maxed out. But if you go on SWGOH.gg, you'd be able to see what the maximum critical rating is for each of your characters. Now, at the kind of in the middle there, I have the formula. It was a rough calculation. I tested it on a few characters, and it's relatively accurate that the crit chance is going to be your crit rating divided by 24 plus 10. And this is valid for characters that are level 85. So, Cody, when you max him out, has a crit rating of 630, which gives him an approximate base crit chance of about 36.25. Echo has 342, which gives him a base chance of about 24.25, so you can kind of see through that list. Now, that last column is the approximate crit, or the total crit chance from the Cody's lead ability, the buff by Leia, any other uniques, and what their base crit chance is. You can see Cody has a 91.25% chance to crit with this makeup. Echo has a 79.25. Fives has an 80.46. Clone Sergeant is over 100%, and Leia has a 79.92. So, what does this mean in terms of how you want to mod? If you haven't checked it out, there is a video that I have up that tells you about how to optimize damage on your characters. Now, in that video, I went through the unmodded values, but the values still stick to point. If your total crit is less than 40%, you're going to be better off with offense up in order to maximize your damage, and just pure from a damage standpoint. If you're above 40% crit, you're going to be better off with crit damage. So, looking at these characters, the other thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that you need everyone to crit. You need them all to crit so that Cody can reset his 2/12th attack. So you want to try and get as close to 100% as possible before you start focusing too much on damage. The one thing you will want to make sure, though, is that the triangle mod that you have is one of the few mods, in fact, it's the only mod that will allow you to get crit damage anywhere in the stats. And then the other one is the crit damage set. Okay, so those are the only two ways right now through mods to increase your crit damage. So for all of these characters, you will want them to have crit damage as their triangle primary in order to make sure that they're maximizing their damage. Now, if you look at the rest of these characters, Cody has a 91.25% crit chance. Now, one thing before I get into this, one thing to kind of keep in mind, you want to always try and optimize speed secondaries. Okay, forget about the crit chance and everything. Speed is going to be something that was going to be kind of constant throughout every single attack that you have in the AAT, and more likely than not in every raid that you're going to face. You want to make sure your squad is faster than the opponent's so that you're constantly going and getting your attacks in. So with that being said, besides the speed secondary stats, not the mod set, but the speed secondary stats and the primary on the arrow mod, what you want to look for with Cody, because he has a 91.25% crit chance. So you want a triangle mod with a crit damage primary. If you have one set of critical chance mods, so that would be 2 critical chance mods out of your 6, you will be adding 5% crit chance. That brings Cody up to 96%. You can, with good mods, pick up that other 4% through secondary stats on the rest of your mods. So ideally for Cody, assuming you have the mods, you will want to get 4 crit damage mods, 2 crit chance mods, and the triangle has the crit damage primary stat. Now, if you are not that wealthy in mods, and I am one of those, so if you do not have a lot of different mod variations and you can't necessarily fill this out, you are better off going with full crit in order to make sure that you're resetting that 2/12. Because you're better off constantly having that 2/12 go rather than doing 1 damage once and then having your 2/12 on cooldown. Okay, so if you do not have a variety or a plethora of different mods, then go with crit chance. If you have a variety of mods and you can kind of mod things equivalently, you will want your 4 crit damage, 2 crit chance mods. So that gives you the full 4 bonus set with crit damage, a 2-piece bonus that gives you 5% crit chance, and then have some crit chance secondaries, and then keep on boosting your damage. And then obviously the arrow should have a speed primary in order to make your character faster, and some other speed secondaries as you go through. With Echo, Echo is going to be a little bit lower. So you see that he is just under about 80% crit chance. So Echo is probably going to need a bit more help from crit chance. So Echo will be one that you might want to focus more on crit chance, increase that crit, get it closer to 100% so that you're constantly resetting the 2/12. Now, if you end up around 95%, that may not be so bad because you have the double attack by 5s, you have the potential triple attack by Leia, and you have the call to assist by Echo in order to help you reset that cooldown. So still try to aim high. 95% isn't bad, but try to get that 100%. The same thing will be with 5s. With 5s, you're going to try and want more crit chance. 3 sets will give you 15%. That'll put you at 95%. A few secondaries, you can get to 100%. You can still aim for the crit damage, and this goes with Echo also. You still want crit damage as the primary stat on the triangle. For all of these characters, the primary stat on the triangle mod should be your crit damage. In terms of mod sets, Echo, you will probably want to go with 3 crit chance in order to boost his crit. Same thing with 5s. The rest of your stats can all be speed oriented and offense oriented. Clone Sergeant is an interesting one because Clone Sergeant is well above 100%. So Clone Sergeant will be critting anyways. So obviously you're going to want crit damage as your primary stat on your triangle. You're also going to want 4 crit damage mods. But here's kind of the fun thing. You have 2 other mods that you can kind of fill with whatever you want. There isn't a need for crit chance on Clone Sergeant. Clone Sergeant, when you have Leia up, is going to not need crit. It's going to be a wasted effort. So you could go with Tenacity in order to prevent some of the different debuffs that the tank will throw out. You could go with Health. So go with whatever you have. Focus on damage and trying to get some speed up. Now with Clone Sergeant, because he has the 50% turn meter gain on his basic, you may not need to focus as much on speed on Clone Sergeant as some of the other characters. So focus on damage. He will provide you a lot of damage because he's gaining kind of buffs from everywhere. He's the only one that's guaranteed a crit. So he will be your primary damage dealer in terms of constantly getting crits, constantly pushing out damage. Okay, so he is one that does not need crit chance. Have fun with your other 2 mods. See what you need to play around with. Going back to 5s really quick. It is important that you land that slow. So on the cross mod, the plus sign mod, you will want to make sure that you get a potency primary. And this will help you make sure that you land that slow. Okay? And then lastly is Leia. Now Leia is at 79.92%. So she is not at, she's pretty much a little bit lesser than Echo. Leia is going to be a little bit more of an interesting choice in terms of how you want to mod her. And you can kind of play around with her a little bit. So you want her to be the fastest person on your squad. Okay, so when you look at the speeds after you mod everyone up, you want Leia to be the fastest so that at the beginning of the fight, she can attack and put crit chance up on everybody. So that'll be part of the RNG. You want Leia to go first. The other aspect, though, is that she can potentially get 3 different attacks. Now, how much do you want to bank on that for your RNG? It's kind of a risky proposition. If you have a lot of time, then maybe you want to not focus on her crit chance so much and hope that she triple attacks and one of them is a crit, and that will reduce Cody's to 12th attack. It's definitely a viable strategy. It, however, takes a lot more time. And the problem you may run into is that if your guild is all running the phase at the same time, the constant attacks and damage is going to reduce the health of the AAT, and once AAT gets below 50%, Cody isn't as useful. Okay, so you don't want to necessarily reduce the crit of Leia too much, but because she has an additional chance to attack and an additional chance to attack a 3rd time, she may be one that if you don't have enough mods will be the last one that you focus on, because she has other ways of kind of getting that crit. However, in the basic scheme of things, you do want to try and get her crit up. You want to get a primary of crit damage on her triangle. And because Leia is kind of dependent on herself for survival, she's not gaining the bonuses like the rest of the clones, you might want to focus more on protection, increasing her survival. If you're looking for any particular type of secondary mods, you may want to focus on tenacity in order to maybe prevent some of those debuffs landing on her. More likely than not, she'll still be hit by them, but it's something that you may want to consider. Okay, so brief summary over these again. Cody, 1 set of crit chance, 1 set of crit damage, so that provides you your 6 mods. On the triangle, you want crit damage primary. For Echo, you'll want to think about 6 crit chance. And again, on the triangle primary, so just to continue here, all of them on the triangle, you'll want crit damage as your primary stat, and all of them you want to try, and on the arrow, you want speed as your primary, and all secondaries, you want to try and focus on speed, because you do want to make sure they're fast. So outside of that, Echo, you will want crit chance mods, so 6 crit chance mods. 5s, you will want 6 crit chance mods. In addition to the other primaries, on the plus sign, on the cross mod, you'll want potency as your primary to land that speed down. Clone Sergeant will be 4 crit damage mods, plus 2 of your choosing, depending on which ones can maybe provide you the most speed, or which one can provide you the most damage. Leia, ideally, you'll want 6 crit chance with a lot of except for the triangle and the arrow, probably as much of protection and defense and health as you can muster up. Okay, so that's going to be the basics of your mod setup for your squad. Now, let's look at an attack by my buddy Knight Templar, who recorded his P4 attack. Now, at the beginning, we'll kind of go through some of the negative ones, the ones that he restarted. Key thing, by the way, don't be afraid to restart your attack. Okay, that's the whole purpose of looking at the RNG. You want to make sure that things are going your way. So if anything bad happens in the RNG, feel free to restart, not escape. So if you want to restart or retreat, it's the little gear icon in the top left, and just start over again. So let's go ahead and take a look at his attack. Okay, so you see that he's going kind of attacking everything right now. If you start focusing on the 2/12 attacks on things that are below 50% turn meter, then you gain more turn meter back with Echo. And you see how all of his clones and his entire squad have all 3 morale bonuses because they survived that top cannon. Again, make sure that your squad is strong enough that it can survive it. That's going to be the key. You see Leia is kind of taking a good bit of damage here. She lost all of her protection already. She's still kind of surviving. Now, one of the cannons is down. You have a slow on the main tank, which is perfect because that provides you more time to take down the other tanks, or the other cannons. You have the 2/12 attack on the B2 in order to kind of get him broken down so he doesn't keep on triggering. You see an ability block on Cody. Now, the ability block on Cody is something that you don't really want because you can't do the 2/12 on his attack. And now the AAT, the bottom tank went. One of the cannons was already down, so you're not going to get the speed buff. So you restart the attack. Okay? Nothing wrong with restarting the attack. So we're starting again. Take out the B2s. Start again. Okay? Everything was toppled. You got the 3 bonuses. Airstrike came, they all had this crit chance up buff, so no one was killed. Leia is stealthed. Her stealth is gone, but it happened at the end of the topple. She is re-stealth, constantly proccing. So you can see how this attack is going a little bit better. Everything is going along kind of smoothly. We're now on topple number 3, so you can provide a lot of different burst damage with this. Okay, again, all 3 cannons taken down. Now this time, it wasn't a main cannon fire, so there's only 2 buffs. So again, that third one isn't crucial. It helps to increase damage. If you can survive it, it's great. But you can see Leia is a little bit lower on hit points. You might want to be a little bit more careful on trying to get that third one now. So maybe it's something you do on your first 1 or 2 topples, then you wait afterwards. So it's kind of a system of monitoring and seeing how your squad is doing. And you can see this is a fairly successful attack by Knight Templar on the AAT. Okay, so the strategy in these attacks is monitoring the turn meter on the side cannons, bringing everything down, and then seeing where the main tank is. If the main tank is about to go, you have to decide, looking at your squad, can I take out the top tank, the left, and the right before the bottom tank goes, because you want to make sure you get that speed buff, that morale 2 bonus. And if you can't, then you want to attack the main tank and then go ahead and just let it go again. But if you take out one of the cannons and the main tank is going to go, then you're not going to get morale 2 bonus, and then you may want to restart. And again, it depends how far into your attack. If you've already done 20% and then something like that happens, then maybe it's not as big a deal to you. Okay, so it's a constant monitoring of turn meters, making sure you get your attacks. So I hope you guys were able to kind of follow that. It's a lot of monitoring the turn meters, making sure that you're looking at what to attack. Remember that if you attack something over 50% turn meter, then you will be not getting the bonus with Cody, because Cody gets additional turn meter when he attacks a target with less than 50% turn meter. And you want to make sure that you're attacking the AAT when it has greater than 50% turn meter. So there's a few different things that you have to make sure you're monitoring when you're picking what you're going to attack with your 2/12th attack. And that's the basics of the P4 clone attack. Again, thanks to Knight Templar for providing me the video of his phase 4 attack. He has really geared clones, so it's something that you'll want to be careful about if you're going to try and replicate this. There are certain things like trying to get the morale 3 bonus that you have to be more cautious about if your clones aren't as geared. Okay, but I wish you all luck, and if you guys have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial video. Please subscribe to the channel so you can get updates on whenever we're posting new material. Please like this video if you found it helpful. We're always checking the comments, so if you guys have any feedback, if you've tried other things that work, please let us know in the comments. We can definitely have a discussion. In the description of the video, there's also a link to the RSG Discord, so feel free to hop on there and always PM me. I'm Finity on the RSG Discord as well. And thanks for watching.